Hey, it's the Beast Brian London and Chris Whittingham.
Yeah.
We coming to you live from the Media Workroom here at the Schwartz Center. Doing a little recap of today's Monday's Media Day and Al Golden's press conference as we get ready for FAU week. Chris is joining the Kate Insider gang and also works with me over at FM 104.3 AM 790 The Ticket. How'd I do on that? So Chris, obviously we saw Al today. Seemed confident about the season. The first question right off the bat was NCAA, we haven't heard, and I don't think he liked that as the first question.
Yeah, he's made the 51st Dates movie reference
Several
times,
yeah.
And he's got a point. I mean, at a certain, and he's mentioned later on in the press conference about there is no plan for what's going on here. 3 years of this, and he is understandably fed up about it.
Yeah, I would be too. Some news from the press conference: Jontavius Carter, the wide receiver, we learned was dismissed from the team. We had thought that maybe it was his choice to leave the program, but we found out that he was dismissed. Also, we found out Curtis Porter's got a bit of a back issue going on. We also found out Gus Edwards, according to Al, has been practicing. Art Kehoe Tolasani Odagwo is out there, is practicing, although I didn't see him in his number this morning. So that's the injury stuff. As far as other news, Chantrell Henderson, last depth chart, starter at tackle this week. He's the second man in. Your thoughts on what Al had to say about that?
I thought that it was interesting that all training camp long, almost all of last season, he was the one, and all of a sudden, week before the season starts, he gets downgraded to 2. I just think to me, it felt like a method of message sending more than an actual amount of plays that will be affected in the game. They've talked a lot. Kehoe talked about it, the rotation of offensive linemen. I still think he'll play a majority of the snaps at right tackle, but it is an interesting tactic to try and get in his head or whatever they're trying to do with that.
The defense, we asked a lot of questions about the defense today to various people. Coach D'Onofrio is out there. He'll actually be up in the booth this year. It says that he says it gives him a better view of the field and also lets him kind of look at some stuff from the past series when he's not down in the hectic confusion of being on the field. We talked to Tyreek McCourt, Jimmy Gaines, a bunch of guys, Tracy Howard on defense. Everyone seems confident the defense will be better, but until you really see that in a game, is it hard to know? Is it hard? I mean, can I sit here and go, well, they're bigger, they're stronger, and everyone says they're smarter, I think they'll be better, or do I have to wait till Friday night to know if this defense is really going to be better?
Well, yeah, that's the only way you can measure. We've talked a lot about all the improvements, all the things that have had to change here, and the only way we can find out for sure if these things are actually happening is in the game, because that's when we can measure it statistically and kind of see it with our own eyes. We don't really get the full view of what goes on every day in practice, and ultimately they're competing against their teammates. So until you go and measure against other people who you don't know, who you're trying to get familiar with, who are also playing a strategic game with you, that's the only way you can really find out.
The captain of this team, Stephen Morris and Sheon Green, had a team-only deal on Saturday where they addressed the team and kind of expressed their concerns and their goals for this team off the field. Getting work done in the classroom, behaving the right way. I'm not sure if this kind of comes on the tail end of whatever Jontavius Carter did to be dismissed from the team, but seeing that senior leadership kind of take hold of the reins of this team before the season starts, I think it's important. And Chris, you'd have to admit that, you know, after these guys have been hearing Coach Golden, the other coaches barking at him for training camp, to get it from their peers, to get it from their teammates, probably makes more of an impact.
Right, and you hear some of those things almost with parenting sometimes, where, you know, if a teacher or if a student tells you something that maybe your parents have been emphasizing, it coming from a different voice, that always helps, and maybe this will help drive home a message. I mean, well documented the number of players that have left the program since the end of last season, just during this training camp. And so hopefully messages that come from other players not maybe are more significant but are more heard than necessarily messages from the coaches.
Odd getting parenting tips from you. As far as we know, you have no kids.
That's, as far as we know.
As far as we know. Last thing before we let you go, Chris and I will be obviously on Saturday after the game on the Ticket. I'll be on tonight on All Canes Radio live on the Ticket from 9 to 10. FM 104.3, AM 790, theticketmiami.com. Brandon's going to call in. We'll have some recruiting information for you as well. Former Canes offensive lineman Chris Myers will be on the show. And, of course, we'll have plenty of information on this upcoming game, news, notes, everything from today on CaneInsider.com. For Chris Whittingham, I'm the Beast Brian London. Thanks for tuning in on CaneInsider.com.